Hey guys, welcome to the first Athlon CPU review on Phil's Computer Lab. We're going to look at the specifications of this processor, check out the test machines to get all the benchmark results and power draw results. There is gameplay sprinkled throughout the video to break it up a little bit, and at the end my recommendations. The first game is Tomb Raider 2. This is the GOG version. It's locked at 30 FPS and it's old enough that you can crank up the eye candy features in the video driver. We're using quite a beefy video card, so you go into the ATR driver and I enabled 4x anti-aliasing as well as 16x anisotropic texture filtering, and the game still runs at the full speed. This Athlon 700 was provided to me by Electromine. We have a 20% discount voucher that you can use. Details below in the description. The processor launched at the end of 1999. It runs on 100 MHz frontside bus, but uses double data rate, so we have 200 MHz effective frontside bus. It has a 7x multiplier, 700 MHz clock speed, is produced on the 180 nanometer process, and uses the Thunderbird core. We've got 128 kilobytes of level 1 cache and 256 kilobytes of level 2 cache. It comes for socket A or socket 462, runs on 1.7 volts core voltage. It has a TDP of 38.3 watts, but we will look at some power draw results later in the video. The CPU die is exposed, so be careful when mounting a cooler, and I do recommend using a cooler which has 3 mounting points to spread the load a little bit, and also use very little thermal paste, otherwise it just spreads on the outsides of the processor.
Nobody but a fool would go in there. What about this guy?
This game, of course, is Half-Life from 1999, specifically the demo version Uplink. It is locked at 72 FPS and most of the time it runs at that frame rate flat out. However, we do get a few dips below, but nothing too crazy. This game is extremely playable on this machine. Okay, let's have a look at some benchmarks. Here we've got the Pentium 3 500, the Duron 600 and the Athlon 700 all in one benchmark session. In 3D Mark 2000, the Athlon 700 takes the lead. Same goes for 3D Mark 2000, almost 6,000 points. In Dragon, the Athlon 700 over 60 FPS, so that game is extremely playable. Same goes for Expendable, we're also getting 62 FPS, and the Duron still hangs in there with the Pentium 3 a little bit behind. In Quake 3, we're getting 84 FPS, which is extremely playable, and in MDK2, 97 FPS. Interesting that the Duron and the Pentium 3 get the same outcome here. In Serious Sam, 49 FPS, so this is one of the more demanding OpenGL games. We will likely have to use a faster processor to get this above 60 FPS. And then we've got Quake 2 in software mode. This is a really good benchmark to compare processors. 49 FPS compared to 42 compared to 28. And lastly, we've got the power draw, and this is one of the weaknesses of the Athlon. Under idle, for example, it draws 77 watts compared to 68 for the Duron, compared to only 44 for the Pentium 3, and under load this goes over 106 watts. So I do recommend that you check out a recent video I did looking at power supplies for the socket A. It's important that you pick the correct power supply. The next game we're looking at is 4x4 Evolution. This is the demo version from 2000. It does struggle a bit. It is playable, but the frame rate could be better for sure. I did try both versions, DirectX 7 as well as OpenGL, but there was little difference in terms of performance. Let's have a quick look at the test systems. We're using an Expa K7 V600 motherboard with a VIA KT600 chipset and 1 GB of DDR memory. For the Intel results, we're using the Dell version of the Intel D815EEA with the Intel 815 chipset and 512 MB of SDRAM. We're using a StarTech CPU cooler for both machines. The video card is from G-Cube. It's a Radeon 9600 XT with 256 MB of video memory. Sound Blaster is an Audio G2 ZS. We're using a Seagate Barracuda 520 GB IDE hard drive, and we also got an IDE optical drive. And the operating system is Windows XP Service Pack 1. The next game we're looking at is Mafia. This is the demo version from 2002. It was recommended to try out, and I'm glad I did. Now, the performance is okay most of the time. When you drive around, it is definitely playable, but as soon as you get into some of the shooting scenes, the performance does suffer. So this game seems to really want a faster processor. Now we have one more game that we're checking out, but let's quickly go over everything. The Socket A motherboards are really cheap and easy to find on eBay, and they also have really cool features. The KT600 chipset is very stable. We're getting DDR memory support. It supports USB 2.0 for easy data transfer, and it's got AGP8X as well, so you can use a ton of video cards. The power draw needs to be managed, so do check out the video I did on testing power supplies for Socket A. You need to pick the correct power supply, and also the 700 MHz model that we reviewed in this video seems to be one of the more expensive Athlon processors. Usually the very first and the very last processors, they usually go for premium, so you might be better off picking up a model with 800 or 900 MHz instead. The last game we're looking at is Unreal, and this uses the Nglide wrapper. It is the GOG version. I just installed it straight from the USB hard drive. The performance is all over the place. We're getting sometimes over 100 FPS, but in scenes where it gets a little bit more demanding, we're dipping below 20, 30 FPS. So Unreal is definitely one of the more demanding Glide games. So Nglide on this machine should work better with some of the older games. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more stuff like it, why not subscribe if you haven't done so already? If you have, thank you so much for supporting. Hit the like or the dislike button, share the video with your friends, and leave me a comment down below. What do you think about the Athlon, or do you prefer the Pentium 3 instead? And what other videos, what content would you like to see with these two projects in mind? That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon with another video.